David Seaborg, evolutionary biologist and president of the World Rainforest Fund. And picking up from last video, talking about my Pachamama hypothesis, which is in this book. I wrote two for scientists, but one book for the general public. And this is the one for the general public. And it is an outline of my theory, and I talked about parts of the theory yesterday, how life made the earth better for life, and I talked about how it buried the carbon to keep the greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere as the sun got hotter. This creates a dilemma because carbon is an essential element for life. It's used in DNA, RNA, and proteins and carbohydrates and fats needed for life. And it's needed for photosynthesis. In fact, the major greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide, is the gas of photosynthesis along with water vapor. So life evolved mechanisms in order to conserve carbon, even while keeping it out of the system and controlling greenhouse gases. This is a major part of my theory, and it is not done through any kind of intelligence or teleology. It's all physical, natural mechanisms. So one way that life keeps carbon available to the system and conserves it even while keeping it out of the atmosphere is storing it in life. So viruses, even though each one is small and stores a little bit of carbon only, there's so many viruses, many of them in the sea, by the way, that they store the equivalent of carbon in 200 million beluga whales. The tropical rainforest stores 1.5 billion tons of carbon per year. And the biggest storer of carbon of any ecosystem is the coast redwood forest, which very much it stores how much carbon more than any other ecosystem. And another way carbon is stored is by the help from animals that disperse plants' seeds. This helps plants a lot because the plants, when their seeds are dispersed, the dispersed seedling grows better because it's not shaded out by its parents. It's farther away from parasites, viruses, fungus, because those diseases can't just take advantage and attack one area because the seed is dispersed, and it gets it away from interbreeding with its siblings and parents. So when animals disperse plant seeds and tree seeds, and many animals do this, monkeys, wild pigs, birds, bats, this allows the forest to be healthy and store more carbon. Soils store 25 trillion tons of carbon worldwide. So soils are big storage of carbon. Other ecosystems that store a lot of carbon are seagrass and mangrove. Dung beetles, which eat dung, they roll the dung into balls, and then they lay their eggs, and their larvae eat feces. They actually take out lots of methane. Remember, methane is 80 times as powerful a greenhouse gas as carbon dioxide, which is the main greenhouse gas. So when you have dung beetles decomposing dung, you get much less production of methane because the methanogens, which are the microbes that produce methane, cannot grow when the dung beetles drill their little holes in the dung, because oxygen gets in there, and the microbes that produce methane need an environment with no oxygen. Another way carbon is conserved is, I mentioned last night, C3 photosynthesis is the first major form of photosynthesis we have for regular plants, most plants, but then a more efficient form of photosynthesis called C4 photosynthesis evolved, and it spread largely 6 to 8 million years ago, mainly in grasses. 7,500 species of plants now do C4 photosynthesis. Because it's more efficient, it does take carbon out of the atmosphere, but you lose less of it. But you still get it out of the atmosphere when the plants are buried and die. So you do control greenhouse gas levels, but more efficiently. And nitrogen is about 78% of the atmosphere. It's the main gas in the atmosphere. It actually, through an effect of quantum physics, makes carbon dioxide in the atmosphere a more effective greenhouse gas. Well, bacteria bury they bury nitrogen in the seafloor, making less of it. Also, when animals defecate and it gets buried, or when they die, that takes nitrogen out of the system. So organisms, mainly bacteria, take nitrogen out of the system, making carbon dioxide a less effective greenhouse gas, controlling the temperature without losing carbon. And doing all these things, especially the last one, it increases the amount of time carbon will be in the atmosphere, and we won't get it too low for life and photosynthesis, increases the time by 2.3 billion years, which means that life burying the carbon and controlling the temperature will not make us run out of carbon, because the sun, as I told you, keeps getting hotter, will get so hot that we can't have life before life makes us run out of carbon. So this is not a problem. So life, as the sun is 30% hotter than when life began, it is hotter, and there's more greenhouse gases from volcanoes, but life is burying the carbon, controlling the temperature as the sun gets hotter. Life's keeping things cool, also burying the nitrogen, keeping the greenhouse gas, the effect of carbon dioxide lower, all the while conserving carbon. Thank you.